It's Almost Human Live, everybody. And look, not only do I have Tony and Wayne, like always, but I got Andrew and Julian all joining us to talk about Kiss Creatures of the Night. How you doing, everybody?
Yay, we're great.
The party started.
Good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Get me out of this rock and roll hell.
I want to get away. Kiss Creatures of the Night.
I'll start the show by asking a question. That song Tony just brought up, Rock and Roll Hell, which is the best version? Kiss, Ace Frehley, or Bachman Turner Overdrive?
Come on.
Yes.
How about Brian Adams? Brian Adams recorded it recently.
Oh, that's right. He did. I didn't hear that one.
No, he did that one too. He did War Machine.
Yeah, he did War Machine.
War Machine.
He did both. He did both songs.
All right.
Both?
Yeah.
I didn't hear both.
Yeah.
The Kiss version, it for some the song fits Gene's character at the time so well. So I always go to that version. I mean, you guys got to remember when this song came out, there wasn't no Tommy Thayer, no Eric Singer. There wasn't even no Kiss out of makeup. You just had at the time the 5 characters because Eric Carr had joined the band. We didn't know about Vinnie Vincent yet. So I think the song just fit the character so well, and it lent itself so well to the album. So you got to pick the Creatures of the Night version.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I agree. I like Gene's version. Gene, I like his vocal delivery on it. I just think he does it so well.
How about you, Wayne?
I never heard the other two. I only know the Kiss version, so I'm going Kiss.
Julian?
Yeah, I like that Ace gave it a shot just to show what it would have sounded like had he done it. But you know what? You got to go back to the Kiss album. I didn't know anything about BTO, and Gene just slays that vocal, like Tony said. It's just he's got the attitude. So, Team Gene all the way for that one.
Right on. All right. I pick Ace. Because I just want to be that guy. I want to be, the contrarian. No, actually, I am being honest. I grew up with Rock and Roll Hell with Gene,
Mm.
How long has it been? 7 years since Ace's version came out? I've lived with Gene's version for decades, and I got to tell you, at first when I heard the Ace version, I was like, oh, this is as good as the Kiss version. I didn't say it was better, but I heard on iPod Shuffle just last week, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I should listen to the Kiss version again to make sure. But when I heard the Ace version last week, I was like, this is better than the Kiss version. And the BTO version blows. It's not out of the oven yet. You know what Kiss and Brian Adams did to it? They made that song a whole where BTO's version sounds like it's still baking in the oven. It wasn't taken out, It doesn't sound like the later versions,
Kiss wanted, especially at this time, Kiss wanted so bad to not only have a hit album, but they wanted a hit song so bad. So you almost feel the pain in them when they were doing these songs because they so bad wanted it to be good. They wanted it to be better than Music from the Elder. They were hungry. They were more hungry during Creatures of the Night than probably they were during the sessions for the first album. They didn't know what they were missing on the first album. They didn't know the heights of success that they would reach. But by Creatures, they were successful and then not successful, and now they were trying to claw their way back to be successful again. So something about just the performances on this record always spoke to me because this band was hungry again.
Yeah, well,
that's a good thing. Good way of putting it, man. You're right. Absolutely.
It is a good way of you putting it, but if you go a little further, I mean, Creature of the Night's a phenomenal album, and at the time, it sold even less than The Elder, right, Julian? I believe it did.
Yeah, it was impacted by The Elder commercially because that had killed what little pulse they still had commercially. So it took many years for it to, catch up and undo the damage of the experiment. So, it wouldn't have mattered what they had released. They could have, released a Van Halen equivalent album in 1982 or Back in Black, but no one cared.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Let me just expand on what Andrew said. Andrew's saying they were hungry. They were so hungry to do the Creatures. Can you imagine being that hungry and releasing a flop?
Mm.
So when they took off the makeup, that hunger, in my opinion, intensified. I think Lick It Up is a grossly underrated album that I put above Creatures, not by much.
Me
Well,
too. Me too.
Yeah,
Good.
but that's
I
the
agree.
other show. That's the other show about Lick It
Yeah.
Up. We gotta talk
Yeah.
about
There you
we gotta
go.
talk about the first one first, and then when everybody hates this one, then we'll come back with Lick It Up like a 1-2 punch.
When did Creatures of the Night actually go gold? Was it during the was it after like Animalized period, or did it go gold before that? I've never really looked. I really don't know.
I think it was 94.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think what helped
it took a long time.
Really? I was thinking it probably once they got popular again in the 80s with the non-makeup period, it would have sold better. Of course, that goes into the whole story about
that version.
the alternate cover,
I
so
had that on cassette as a kid when that
this album, I would have figured it would have sold.
got the CD and the cassette. Yeah, and the
me
vinyl.
too. Me too.
No 8-track?
I
I don't think that came out on
I don't think
8-track.
so.
Now,
Not that
no.
cover.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't think Creatures came out on 8-track.
Yeah, the album came out on Creature on 8-track as well. I just fact checked myself, and it was 94 that it went gold. So
Wow.
they reissued it in 85 with that different cover and a little bit of the remix on the first track, just to bring the EQ down a little bit on it and a little bit less bombastic because it had
Yeah.
done so badly. They wanted to try and give it a second life because it had no legs in 82, 83. That tour was a dud. The album just plummeted. The single did nothing. So 85 they put it out again, along with the rest of the catalog getting reissued, and it didn't do spit then either. So it really took many years.
When was the remasters? Remember they did those
97.
first? Oh, so it was
97.
after.
Yeah,
97.
97.
And even still, because there was a company called H&H Marketing, located here in Ohio, that they reissued Creatures on picture disc. So even reissuing it again in 1995, did bunk for this album.
It's just for the fans and collectors. The diehards bought it, and that was it.
Has anybody ever heard the quality of the Creature of the Night bootleg that has Vinnie Vincent on the cover? Has anybody ever heard one of those records?
No, you're asking
got it.
you're asking the wrong group of people. We're all collectors, so we have 88,000 versions of it. Never listened to the damn thing ever.
Yeah, I have this version, and it's on purple vinyl. Now, there's two different versions with Vinny on the cover. This one looks more natural. The other one doesn't even look like Vinny. It looks very strange looking. This one says it's a Brazil Tour Edition, but it's a bootleg. It's on purple vinyl. It sounds fine. It sounds fine. I don't really notice it that much difference in the sound quality of it, but it is cool to have. When I saw that cover, I was like, I gotta buy that. I mean, it's just for the novelty of it alone,
I wanted to get one. I probably still will if I find it reasonable. I ain't gonna pay a
If I
lot.
see one for sale anywhere, man, I'll hit you up, let you know, or grab it for you. Yeah.
Right on, man. All right, Julie. When was the first time? Were you already into Kiss by Creatures of the Night?
Me? Hell no. No. I didn't get into Kiss until Asylum. So I'm more comfortable with the 85 Bruce Kulick cover than even the original blue makeup one. I didn't see that for years. I was living upstate New York, so I didn't know shit about Kiss. I didn't know that there was a makeup cover. I thought it was like this album came out in the summer there, and I was like, that was the one that was available for sale. I didn't see that blue cover until like 87 when I was in Asia. And when I did, I was blown away by it.
Wow. Crazy.
Wow. Yeah, you came kind of late. Andrew, you're even later than that, obviously.
Well, I wasn't even born in 1982 when it came out.
His first album was Monster.
That's not true. Come on. Give me a little more credit than that. Give me a little more credit than that. But I did have it. I mean, I became a fan in 87, 88 before I even knew what music was. And I had this on cassette. I distinctly remember, and I think I saw the home video of it somewhere, where MTV did some, throwback weekend in 1990 or something, and they were playing the I Love It Loud video. And as a 5-year-old kid, I thought that was new. I was like, this is the new Kiss video. And I just remember just like going crazy because there's no internet at the time. You couldn't get these music videos unless you saw them on TV. And then I also remember when I bought the Kiss My Ass video, I thought the I Love It Loud video was going to be on there, and to my surprise, it wasn't. But anyway, that's another story for another time. But I always thought it was a non-makeup cover, probably until the remasters, because there wasn't vinyl wasn't for sale around me for a long time. It was just cassettes and CDs, and this was the cassette. And then I saw the Kiss CDs again once the remasters came out, and I was like, "What's this?" And I didn't realize it wasn't until I logged on to kissfaq.com that I learned about all of this stuff, and here I am today.
And that the version without the makeup too, it's also remixed differently. So there's a different sound between the.
But what did I know? I had literally my first Sony boombox.
Yeah.
And that's how I played. I think the play button was like purple or something, and that's what I was listening to it on. So someone says remix, I was like, there's one speaker in this thing. So...
Yeah, kind of like Julian mentioned. Yeah, they definitely remixed it. The drums aren't. The drum sound is just so killer on
the first drum hit. You can hear it.
They brought it down a little bit in the mix. It's still powerful, and they switched a couple of song list.
You're right.
Orders.
I forgot about that. You're totally right.
The second song used to be Saint and Sinner, and they switched it with Killer, which was the next to last song, number 8. So they switched 2 and 8, just flip flopped them. And you talking about a remix of something. When Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits came out, the version of I Love It Loud that's on there is totally remixed too, and they just kill the drums on that version. The drums just sound like regular drums. They don't sound all bombastic like they originally sounded.
That version sucks so hard, man.
It's so bad.
Yeah. That album should be called Thrashes, and Shits.
Yeah, but hold on a second. It's still the best-selling album of the '80s for Kiss. So what does that tell you?
Oh my god!
Well, that's because Let's Put the X in Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard with the greatest Kiss songs ever. I mean, come on.
One annoying little fact on Smashes is Michael James Jackson, the producer of all those Kiss albums, including Creatures, made more money from the songs on Smashes than he did from producing the freaking albums. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think Smashes has the best version of Love Gun. That's my favorite version of Love Gun.
What's different about that? I can't remember.
That's remixed too. That's right. Man, I haven't listened to it in years. I bought it on vinyl, and I don't think I've ever played the vinyl.
Same. 2 different versions. What's the matter with us? What's the matter with all of us?
We don't have problems.
On Love Gun and Smashes doesn't have the vocals.
That's right. That's right. I remember that now. Yeah, that's right. That's cool. That is kind of cool. I'm gonna listen to that tomorrow morning. Just that song. I'm not going to listen to the.
I think it's the best thing on there.
What you don't like Beth with Eric Carr on vocals?
That was just.
Eric Carr didn't even like doing that.
Nah, Eric didn't even like. Yeah, it was just atrocity to do. It was just like a smack in the face to Peter. Yeah, that's his song, man.
And that would continue.
I don't want to talk crap about Eric Carr. I love Eric Carr.
Me too.
Tony, were you already aware of Kiss by '82?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay,
the whole reason I'm sitting here right now is because of Kiss in the '70s. Rock and Roll Over was my first record, but I was following. I knew about it, and I just remember when The Elder came out and seeing stories about it in Hit Parader and their new look, and by that time I was kind of getting into some new wave. I was into Devo and stuff like that, and I thought the new Kiss I thought they looked cool, and I saw them on Solid Gold and all when they played World Without Heroes. I didn't see the Fridays thing until like years later, but Creatures came out, and I remember a full page. I want to say it was the back cover of a Hit Parader, and it said the loudest band in the world. Of course, it was it was the Creatures cover because it looked, that's a little 45, but it had that picture, and it said the loudest band in the world. And I have that poster now, the big poster, the loudest band in the world poster I got at a Kiss convention in the 90s. But yeah, I remember that ad. I'm like, okay, well, they got a new record. But I didn't rush out and get it because by the time it came out, I was getting, I was all into Van Halen and stuff. And I was, I only had so much money to 13-year-old kid, so I was picking up stuff as I could. But I remember this guy coming to school, and he had Creatures on cassette. He brought it, and he let me borrow it, and I recorded it, and that was my first copy of it. It was, just a dubbed copy, and I liked it, man. I thought it was good. I was like, wow, I mean, this is a really rocking record compared to the Elder, which I had finally heard. And I didn't hate the Elder, but it was just like, this is way different, But yeah, I was glad to see him back. I thought it was really rocking. It was a good album.
Hey, how about you, Wayne? I mean, when did you come in?
I started the latest out of all you. I started with Revenge.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw the I Live It Loud video. I remember that coming on MTV all the time, and I liked it, but I was too little. I was too young to like really give a shit about music. And then Unholy came on MTV Headbangers Ball one night, and I was like, holy shit, this is Kiss. Kiss can be this heavy. So I had to go out and go get the Revenge album. Then I ended up getting the Creatures of the Night without the makeup and everything, and I was a huge Kiss fan from then on. It was just it's just such an awesome album. And I always thought it was weird with the Bruce Kulick being on the front cover too. He's not even on the album.
Neither is Ace.
Right, and neither is Ace. And like, I didn't know that stuff when I bought that. I had no idea. I didn't know what was going on.
Hey, Ralph, I think Manny's trying to get in. He just messaged it.
We don't need it. Do we need him on here? All right, fine. We'll let him in. But yeah, I love Creatures of the Night. Yeah, I'm a late starter, unfortunately.
Hey, sorry, I'm moving into the middle house my mom, so I was moving stuff. I was late and had a friend over. So anyway.
Oh, friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did you get into Kiss, Manny?
I got into Kiss actually around the time Creatures of the Night. I was 12 years old. My brother's friend gave me Rock and Roll Over. It was Warped, and I played it all the time. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And then Creatures of the Night was the album. And I wanted to go to the show at Lakeland. And I think I'd been to 2 shows already, but my parents put their foot down. We're not going to go see that satanic shit, especially since they're very Catholic. So they thought Kiss really was Knights in Satan's Service or whatever bullshit people made up back then. What the hell is wrong with people in the 80s, Ralph?
What's wrong with people now? They haven't changed.
People now are worse. I Bible thumpers that, I got to tell you, those Bible thumpers turned me on to some music back in the day. Because, in the early, mid-'80s, they used to have these programs, these preachers putting up records. Oh, this is satanic, that's satanic. I'd be like, oh, shit. They were turning me on to satanic music. It was awesome. I miss those people.
Actually, I got into rock and roll because a guy named Reverend Billy Mayo. My mom made me go to church when I was 11, a Baptist church. And it pissed me off because the bus pulled up and I go to my mom, who are they here for? You. I go, what? I don't even believe in God. She goes, that's exactly why you're going. Boom, out the door. Anyway, they had Ralph, do you remember this? Because maybe this is a Florida thing, but they had these reverends that would travel, evangelists, anti-rock guys that would play records backwards and claim AC/DC stood for Antichrist, Devil's Child, which I thought was wonderful. But anyway, he had a pamphlet, so I got the pamphlet. And the next day, me and my friend Corey went to the flea market. Go, oh, look, they mentioned Black Sabbath. We grabbed that, AC/DC, Deep Purple. We didn't grab Culture Club, though. He said they were evil, but we grabbed a lot of stuff. Anyway, so I agree with Ralph.
Well, you know what we did have, Manny? And even when I went to go see the Creatures of the Night tour, we had Bible thumpers outside with the signs, trying to save our souls. Because if we go in that building, our souls are doomed. And you know what? In retrospect, they're right. We are all going to hell. I mean, come on. Be honest.
100%.
There was a lot of television footage about the picketers and stuff at these Kiss concerts, making like the local news and these little news stories, these little news shows like Extra and stuff like that were around. I often wondered if Kiss set up any of that stuff because they
Of
were
course
trying
they
to
did.
get
I think they
promotions for it because they figured, well, maybe we can get some hype from this, and maybe we
Yeah.
can get some of these kids that are listening to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden now. Maybe they'll buy our record because they think we're more evil now or something.
that it's a total PR move. They need
Oh,
publicity they can get. I mean,
Yeah.
but man, they were lambasted too. You saw that interview of them with that older dude in the suit. Don't you feel ridiculous the way you are now and all this shit? I mean, they were just hammering them badly.
Oh.
The way
They-
dressed.
They couldn't get arrested at that time. They needed that. They needed that.
Kids at that time, nobody cared. And this is how I got into Creatures. And thank God it was my friend Kenny. In 1982, he came out with Creatures of the Night on cassette. You gotta hear this. I said, fuck Kiss. Because I don't know, and I was just thinking about this today. I was the biggest Kiss fan up to Dynasty. And I was the biggest Cheap Trick fan up to All Shook Up. And then I just lost interest in both bands. But then when this guy convinced me to play it, I was like, oh my God, it was ripping. You know, I couldn't believe how good it was. And already they booked the show in West Palm Beach. By the time I heard that cassette, I was like, oh man, we're going to Kiss. And I had no plans on going to the Creatures of the Night tour if it wasn't for my friend Kenny playing me the album. And yeah, that's how I got into it. And the heartbreaking part was going to the show. On the way to the show, on the radio, they announced that Ace Frehley had a car accident. He's not going to be there. They were announcing the shit on the radio, and we all know the truth now. But back then, you know, and Ace is my favorite, you know, and I was so pissed. I was like, what the fuck? You know, I was really upset, man. Wendy O. Williams, Plasmatics, Destroyed, they were great. And then when Kiss came out, I couldn't believe how amazing Vinnie Vincent was. It just floored me how good he was that night. He was awesome, you know, and I was very impressed by him. I thought he was amazing. And Kiss that night, I never seen him hungry, ever. Gene looked like he was going to eat you alive. He looked like a big fucking monster the way he was. And they just came out and ripped one killer song after the other. And it was the best time I ever saw Kiss. As far as them on stage, but the best time I ever saw Kiss, like as far as atmosphere, was 3 of the 4 shows at Madison Square Garden in '96. That was purely electric, you know. Where West Palm Beach, it was more like the show was just, it really was pummeling. And then I saw Lick It Up tour, which they didn't even bother to change the fucking stage. It was the same damn stage. And it was good. It was a good show. But Creature of the Night was excellent. There was more fire, and it wasn't a bad turnout. Which you
I
would,
was going to ask you that. Yeah.
it wasn't. I mean, I wouldn't say it was sold out, but it looked packed as far as I can remember. You know, then, you know, years later I heard the stories how they were playing, you know, half empty halls, and looking back on it, I thought it wasn't half empty. I would remember that.
You're right. It wasn't half empty, but certainly wasn't sold out. The date, West Palm Beach, February 3rd, 1983. Reported audience was 5,200 out of a total capacity of 6,200. So
Yeah, that's
for that
Still
tour,
not bad.
that was great.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
tour, I've read it too, but is it well documented that tour, at least in the United States, was a money-losing venture, or?
Yeah.
Yes,
Didn't they cancel like the last shows? No.
they cut the tour short. It was supposed to be 100 dates. They cut it after 60. The dates had a few good markets, but mostly it was way down. I mean, even Satan didn't want Kiss in 1982, 83.
Yeah,
I know some people that went to it was the album release, I guess it was in Richmond, Virginia. but there's some friends of mine that went, and I know they've got photos and stuff. And the band was there, and Ace was with them, and they were promoting the album like a in-store appearance for when it first came out.
What about internationally? I mean, heavy metal, at least what
They
was
did.
called heavy metal, AC/DC, Judas Priest, what were other, Iron Maiden. There were a
Van
lot
Halen.
of big, Van Halen, thank you. A lot of big albums released that year. About internationally, was this album just a flop and just became a hit later on because of people my age, people like me who always loved it, or what?
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
never
it
a
ever
hit.
became. Yeah, it never became a bona fide hit.
I mean, it's a cult favorite amongst heavy metal fans because it's a hard ass album, and it's got everything. It's got screaming guitars, it's got bombastic drums, it's got some pissed off vocals, but it was never a hit. I mean, the Brazilians went mad for it. It sold like 100,000 there, which was really good, or even more. But elsewhere, come on, look at what the bands were doing in Europe at the time. Who was hot? Priest, Maiden, Venom. There were a shit
Dokken.
ton of. No, Dokken was singing on Scorpions albums in '82. So, there's a lot of badass bands out there, and Kiss was the past, just like Aerosmith.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it was more understandable because they were all coked to the gills.
I remember when Lick It Up took off and it, made them popular again.
Mhm.
A lot of the people that got into Kiss again went back to Creatures. And I was trying to explain this to my co-host of Rock and Metal, but as you all know, he's an alcoholic. And he doesn't know how to comprehend logic. He was saying how nobody cared for Creatures of the Night back then. And I was explaining to him, dude, Creatures of the Night was loved by the people that loved Balls to the Wall by Accept. Was Balls to the Wall Accept popular? It really wasn't. It was as popular as Creatures, or Restless and Wild, even less popular. But people loved those albums back then. They weren't going gold or platinum, but it had a fan base. Creature of the Night, by the time they released the non-makeup album, I mean, a lot of people were into it. A lot. I mean, Julius said before, it wasn't until '94 it went gold.
Oh, wow, that long?
Yeah, it took that long. But you know why it took that long? A lot of people, I gotta get it now on CD. I gotta get it now on this. I gotta get the remaster. So
I think Revenge really helped it because, again, Revenge was a neglected album. It only went gold, but I think once people heard Revenge, they wanted hard ass Kiss again after some of the pretty weak stuff that they'd done. Hot in the Shade, while it has its moments, wasn't exactly a sonic assault. So they went back to
It
the
was an
original.
assault for sure. It was definitely an assault listening to that record.
Well, the reason I thought Creatures became a hit retrospectively or later on, one thing I remember is I bought the album as brand new. I was 12 years old because I'm an old guy. They reissued it, and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong or somebody, but they reissued it when Animalize was huge with a non-makeup cover with Bruce, right?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
to me, I felt that, well, it must be finally have a following. And then I guess like 3 or 4 years ago, they released a box set, which surprised me, and then the double CD. So I thought, it became a long lost classic being rediscovered by fans. So I guess that's why I thought it sold a lot more. But when Ralph tells me it didn't go gold till like the 1990s, I'm like, what? I'm
Oh,
shocked.
Kiss fans hold it up on a pedestal as one of the great Kiss albums out in the whole catalog. I mean, they'll put it up there with something like Rock and Roll Over as a great Kiss album. So you're preaching to the converted. They wanted to capitalize on Animalize's success. Animalize was a 2 million seller. So it did very well in '84, '85, and it was a perfect time to try and capitalize on it. But it just shows kind of how up and down Kiss was in the mid 1980s, that it didn't get any benefit until, it all those years later to go gold. I mean, it's kind of shameful.
Let
Such
me
a great
pose
rock
this-
record.
Let me pose this question because it's certified gold. It had to have sold more than that. Could it just possibly be another Kiss record that just hasn't been properly certified? Because we know that, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dress to Kill, those are certified gold, but you know that those have sold more than 500,000 units. It had to be in the millions. I'm not talking about like tens of millions, like we're not talking Def Leppard numbers here. But those albums have to be 1 or 2 million at this point. They've got to be, right?
Are you suggesting dishonesty in the music business, Andrew?
I'm not. Well, of course, yes, but I'm not suggesting the dishonesty. I'm just suggesting that why were they going to certify an album? Because it costs money to do that, and we all know that these guys don't like to spend any money. So, yes, it was certified gold in '94, but
maybe they can take the profits from these gold bars that they're selling now and get it all recertified.
Well, that gold single. What was that single they just released out of
How
gold?
many did you guys order?
None.
Ralph ordered 4.
4 or 5.
I love Kiss, but fuck you. I'm not buying that. It's such ridiculous.
That might be the most ridiculous thing they've released since the Rubber Duckies.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The Rubber Duckies at least are.
Float.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wait, at least what? What? How can you compliment that? What? At least what, Manny?
They float. At least they do float. They do
Yeah,
something.
the gold bar just sinks, man.
Yeah.
See, here's the funny thing, because I was talking to someone about this recently. Kiss fans and music collectors and whatever have you, a lot of people are concerned with the resale value or the actual value of the thing that they got. They're like, oh my God, this is rare, this is worth this much, or this is rare, this is worth this much. So Kiss releases the only thing that is not going to lessen in value, and we're all pissed off. So gold is never going to be worth less than gold. So they release something that's gold, and everyone's like, I'm not buying that. It's the only thing that's not going to, decrease in value.
Yeah, except the gold would need to be $8,000 an ounce for you to make any money on what you pay for that freaking thing. So
yes, but it's the only item that's never going to lose value. The moment I open my Kiss dolls, worthless. But
I bought all 5 of them.
there you go. Sold out now. Instantly sold
Yeah,
out.
they're gone.
All mine now.
Yeah.
Ah,
So it was
Okay.
you're the reason why I couldn't get them. Bastard.
did any of you guys get the big box set, the Big Creatures box set?
Yes, I was just looking through it as you guys were talking. I was just.
Yeah,
You saw many-
I helped work on it. My name's in
Oh,
it.
you did. Oh,
Yeah.
You did. By the way, my name is Manny. What's your name, dude?
Oh, you talking? No, Andrew Scambatti. Yeah,
No, you. Yeah. What's your name, sir?
Andrew Scambatti.
Oh,
Right on
Andrew. You just said it. Jeez.
It's right
See?
on the screen too. You blind bastard.
Listen, you bastard. I'm using my phone. It's
He's
not
using
on
his
my
phone. It's
screen.
like it's like the name of the
Yeah,
name of
it's
everyone's like
like
for
the-
Gulliver's Travels.
Like,
Don't-
wait,
don't-
it's like
don't
the
give him
size of your
excuses,
penis.
Andrew.
Minuscule. Anyway.
I didn't fork out for it, and they had it on sale. You Discover actually had it for like a fraction of what it originally was, right after Christmas or right around
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
I should have got it, but I was like, do I really need it?
You do.
I
It's
just
cool.
bought it.
It's
You do.
cool.
It's really
I
cool. The
bought
book's
triple
cool.
vinyl.
There's so many. Like,
Actually, Tony, it's a really good box.
it's my favorite box set of Kiss so far.
And
Just
but
seeing all the pictures and the book, it's just so detailed and
when it first went on sale, I think it was like $250 or something like that on Kiss Online.
yeah.
Yeah,
Then Amazon released it like a week later, a pre-sale for $150, I believe, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Yeah.
And I got it off Amazon, and
So
then
did I.
when it was released, I got it right away. And the people that paid so much more on Kiss Online waited weeks for it to arrive at their place. So I paid like, I don't know, almost $100 less and got it. I got it on the day of the release.
wow,
Me too.
that's cool.
And what's-
You know,
and I
one
looked,
thing go
there's
ahead.
shows on here.
There's what?
I have several of these shows.
Mhm.
So they kind of like cut, the shows, but they made some amazing live albums and has demos and rarities and outtakes. And it even has an audio of how Creatures of the Night, the show would open with the tanks and shit. That's even on here. The intro to their concert. You know?
Nice.
No,
I
that's
wanted
cool.
the demos and stuff, and the demos most of them are on the set that I got. But I was going to say they missed a prime opportunity for that box. This other company comes along, does this Eric Carr thing with the light up eyes, and that's, I mean,
Right,
Kiss
yeah.
missed a prime opportunity on that. They should have had that on the box because that is freaking cool when it's charged and it works. This one already died.
This is so
but-
cool when it works.
Well, you got to charge it. You got to remember to charge your album. Yeah, whatever. But I thought it was a great idea when they did this. It's like, wow, they should have done that on the Creatures box set, man. That
I
was
got to
a
get
pretty
one
good
of
idea.
those. I've never
So-
seen it in person, so
Some of
Yeah,
the cool things, all these photos that a lot of people haven't seen. They're just
Yeah,
they're
Wayne. Show all
Yeah,
that.
I loved that photo session's great, man. I
It
always
is.
love those photos. Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff. In
even
that
this cool thing too. It's an actual iron on that you put on your shirt.
Wow.
I'm not nobody.
Wow.
They'd be stupid to do that though. I wouldn't take it out.
It brings a lot of bullshit, man.
It really does. It's
Very
this
nice, very
sticker, and then
Oh,
there's like a
That is cool. But I didn't want to spend $200 on it because I would have bought
you
the
should.
CD.
You should.
I sell their stuff.
There's so much stuff in here. There's
Yeah, but I got to support a drug habit, so I
That is
can't.
true. That is true.
Well, Manny,
Posters.
Manny would have probably had it on the floor and it got messed up. With the
Yeah, it would have
flood.
gotten fucked up. So
Yeah.
This is a design of the stage they put in here.
Oh yeah.
Ralph,
That's cool.
is that what the stage looked like,
Yep.
Ralph? Since you saw
Yeah.
the show,
Yep, that's how it looked like. It was awesome.
All right out of what they wanted to do and all that crap. I guess this is an itinerary or something. I don't know what the hell's in here.
that's
Yeah, I
the
don't
press kit. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
press release. They hit an absolute home run with that box set when it came out musically. I didn't care about all the trinkets and shit that's in it. It was the music that interested me. The live stuff, it was just put together beautifully. The demos, I was pissed off at the time that they included the pre-Elder demos, the Deadly Weapons and all that shit, but I didn't know that they had actually considered reusing some of that for Creatures until afterwards. So then it made sense. So the track listing was fantastic. The Satan Sinner work tracks are just absolutely amazing. So kudos to Universal and the team who put that together.
Andrew, what did you do on the project?
So I worked with another collector, scanned a bunch of their collection, scanned a bunch of my collection. I believe the tour book might be my tour book. I also helped work on Destroyer, and I scanned my tour book for Destroyer. So I just scanned a bunch of merchandise, whatever they needed. Something, they go, hey, can you find us this, or can you find us this? And I went out and found it and scanned it and sent it up to them. So I was more than happy to do that. It's a weird thing though, because we've all been fans of Kiss or all these other bands, and to see your name on an official release that you can go out and buy, like I was over the moon when that happened. And and yeah, great, I scanned a bunch of stuff, but still, just to have that little tip of the hat from whoever was in charge of the project was very cool. And anytime someone comes over, I'm like, you gotta check this out. Like, my name is on this, and it's definitely a badge of honor that I wear, and it's so cool that I was able to say that as a kid and then grow up and do it as an adult.
Yeah, man,
Oh,
that's
that's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Do you guys remember the first time you heard about Vinnie Vincent? 'Cause I remember picking up, I think it was Hit Parade or did an article, and it had a picture of a new photo, and they're all standing there with Vinnie, and it says something like, Kiss with new guitarist Vinnie the Wiz Vincent.
The first time I ever heard of Vinnie Vincent was the show. I didn't hear
Wow.
I've never seen his makeup. None of that till I saw the actual concert. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And he was fucking awesome. Best time I ever saw Vinnie Vincent.
I must have been the same Hit Parader magazine you saw. I sort of remember that they kind of hinted that Vinnie Vincent was a temporary member, which turned out to be true, but not the way they meant.
No, they were talking about Ace had a car accident, he'll be back. Shit.
Yeah.
And I actually Ralph, I was 12. I actually believed that shit, you know.
Yeah, well, so did and I was 50, and I believed that shit. And
You were 50 in 83.
we didn't we didn't have the internet. We didn't have nothing to get information from, and our information came from magazines that was stories that were already 2 to 3 months old.
Yeah.
It's pretty
realize
funny
that.
for you, Ralph, since you went to West Palm Beach. Vinny was actually featured on the ad for that show in the local newspaper. So even that stage, Vinny was, being advertised. So it's kind of weird how early that happened.
It is weird how they announced it on the radio, and plus, I live in Miami, 2 hours away, so it wasn't in my local paper,
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I was clueless, man. You know, I love Creature of the Night, and I still didn't buy a copy of Creature of the Night yet when I went to go see it. I just heard my friend's cassette over and over again. But, I wasn't paying attention to anything. And then when on the radio they announced Ace Frehley ain't gonna be there, he was in a car accident. It was, I believed it, I believed all that shit, I believed every single word of it. And I believed when Kiss was on Night Flight, they made it sound like Ace will be back. And I believed it. Oh, Vinny's just here temporarily. I believed it. And they were doing that because they were trying to hide the fact that Ace was out from the record company, right, Julian? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Weren't they hiding?
Yeah,
Is
it
that what
was
it
all
was?
substantive, keeping up appearances, because there was a clause in the contract that if they lost another member, they were going to have their contract renegotiated, have their advances cut, and so they strung them as long as possible. And then they decided to sue them as well, the record label. So once they lost that lawsuit, Phonogram absolutely destroyed them, canceled the contract.
Wait. Kiss sued the record
Kiss
company?
sued their record label, tried to get $15 million out of them for schlocking, and they only won 500,000. So,
And then they had
So-
to pay that.
and then they got the contract canceled. So here's your 500,000. It barely covered the lawyers. Yeah, not a wise business
So they
choice.
lost their contract with Phonogram. So what you're
They
saying.
had it renegotiated. It was Phonogram served termination on the contract, and they were forced to renegotiate it. And then Kiss became just Gene and Paul, and Ace's exit was negotiated. It's all
Well, see,
pretty
here's
messy.
the thing. Like, there were clues of that since the beginning. I mean, people thought KISS stood for, Knights in Satan's Service, but in actuality, it stands for Keep It Simmons and Stanley. So we knew that this was going to happen at some point in their career,
I thought it was keep it simple, stupid.
but they never did. So they
Yeah.
they never listened to their own advice.
So their albums in Europe, their albums still carried the Casablanca brand on them as well, up through was it Lick It Up?
84. Animalize
84,
had some.
Animalize, yeah.
And,
I think my Japanese Animalize might be Casablanca if I remember right. I can't remember.
and Peter Criss is still getting a share of the band all the way up to, I think, Crazy Nights, right? I think.
I did.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What about Ace? Ace was still making money too, right?
No, Ace sold out as part of his settlement agreement. Peter was written into the contract in 1980 as a solo artist, so he stayed in the Kiss business, the partnership. Ace went out of the partnership, and I think he settled in 84. It took a year from the negotiations, but the business side gets very kind of boring.
Yeah.
So
And then let's compare this. Yeah, the original Creatures of the Night, right? And you have the back of it is badass. Storm, lightning.
I know where you're going with this.
Oh yeah.
Then you have this one, and not only it doesn't have Ace Frehley, but it doesn't have Vinnie Vincent. Well, it doesn't have Vinnie Vincent, you think, but that's Vinnie Vincent's ass. You don't know that. That's his ass. So
They
Vinny
were trying to do the Loverboy album cover, and it just didn't come out
Wow.
without the red. Didn't show up without the red pants. You guys probably, I know you guys all have that I Love It Loud with the etched.
I don't know.
I don't have that.
Etched signatures in it. This side sucks. This side plays pretty good. But yeah, it's got all of them signatures in it.
I don't have that.
That's cool.
Pretty cool little piece.
I remember seeing one at I went to a Kiss convention in Orlando in '98 or something, and they had a glow in the dark Creature of the Night vinyl.
Yeah, that's from H&H Marketing. From
Wow.
yeah, it was glow in the dark, and then it was a picture disc put up by the same company. They did Creatures of the Night, they did Revenge, they did Alive 3, and they all shipped in 1995. Then the company went bankrupt. Had they not gone bankrupt, they would have been printing money had they sold Kiss records in '96. But yeah, c'est la vie.
Wow, crazy,
So
interesting. Yeah, I loved going to the Kiss conventions in the early '90s. Man, there was so much stuff you could get and it was reasonably priced. It wasn't like astronomical like it is now. Some of the vintage stuff.
So I have a question. Did anybody on this panel, did any of you guys ever go to the famed New York City conventions in the '90s?
No,
I went to the Hackensack, New Jersey.
That's what I'm talking about. So they call it the New York Convention, but it was actually in Hackensack, New Jersey, at the Rothman Center, which was Fairleigh
Yes.
Dickinson University. Now,
Mhm.
that's where I went to those every single year up until they stopped doing them in 2002. I thought every Kiss convention was like that because you saw footage of that in the Kiss My Ass video, and you're like, man, it's like this every city around the United States. And then come to find out that when I started traveling, there were these like little rinky-dink little hotels, and nothing was ever like that. Nothing is still ever like that because the guy that put it on, Richie Rano, was in the band Stars, and he did it right. It was Kiss, but other hard rock artists were there, like Twisted Sister was there. The guys from Fraley's Comet were there. I know they're Kiss related, but I mean, it was if you didn't experience that, it was something for the books. It was awesome. It was awesome.
I went in I think it was 94 is when I went, and Peter Criss was the guest that year.
Yep.
But I remember like John Regan was there. I remember talking with him
Love that guy.
They had that Bill Baker had the Ace Frehley tribute band Fractured Mirror.
Put it back on.
My friend TR was the guitar player in that. He lives here in North Carolina now. Actually, he was in that band. I didn't know him then, but it's funny. We're talking when I said I used to be in an Ace Frehley tribute band with Bill Baker. I'm like, I saw you guys once. That's a trip, but
I love that guy. Bill sent me a bunch of his stuff a couple of years ago, just some recordings and then some footage of of those conventions. Because man, if you didn't experience those conventions, you missed out on a gem. Because like you mentioned, everything was reasonably priced, and it was like going to a flea market, but it was just Kiss. And then in the back were Kiss tribute bands, playing at the end of the day. So like you shop for Kiss stuff all day. You ate, an overpriced hot dog or whatever was there.
It wasn't even overpriced. It's like probably like $2 or something.
Yeah, but it was probably like boiled. It was disgusting. So, but
Kiss dogs.
Kiss dogs. But you did that, and then you saw the band, and it was just the whole vibe was cool. It's not like what it is now, and it was like $15 to get in, and then you could it was, if you never experienced those, it was something so cool. And I'm from New Jersey originally, so being it was from my home state and I kind of knew the area a little bit, it was so much fun. It was like we get together now, we all talk. I mean, I know Julian really well. I talk to Julian almost every single day. But it was different back then because you had to go to those things to see those people, and the camaraderie there was unmatched. There was no fighting. People weren't, being shady to other people. When you made a friend at that convention, it was a friend for life. And it was a different time, so I miss it. I really miss it.
Yeah, they were really good. And then of course when Kiss took it over, like a year later after I went, and they started doing the official ones, and I went to Atlanta and I went to New York for those, and I mean those were amazing. I mean that was what a convention you wanted to see, the costumes, into glass cases and all. But the craziest thing about that is Kiss was there. They played unplugged. They took photos with you. They did meet and greet, and it was $100 to get in was your ticket.
And we
That'd be
bitched about that then. We bitched.
Yeah,
Like,
and it'd be
$100 bucks.
$100. What are they crazy?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I wish
and
someone was $100 today.
I did go to a couple of the ones you mentioned too, Andrew. I went to later ones that they would do in these hotels, like down here in North Carolina. They used to have the Creatures of the South.
Yep, Phil Elliott.
The one.
I got a good off-air story.
I was
about
at
that.
the one where the lawyers came
I
in.
know. I knew you were gonna say that.
And got the bootleg DVDs from that dude named Roy Budd or whatever his name was. That was selling.
I don't remember that guy's name, but I knew you were gonna say that.
Because I bought a bunch of bootleg DVDs from him that day, but I didn't buy any Kiss. I bought like Van Halen and Motley Crue and stuff. And then he still had all them. They just came in and took all the Kiss stuff and left. They left all the other bands.
Yep. Yep. That's such a small world. Such a small
world. But they had the best Kiss tribute band at that one. That's Clown.
Oh,
and they
come
these
on.
guys. Yeah, I loved it, man. If you don't own Clown Alive 2, the CD, it's one of the best Kiss tribute CDs
come
ever.
On.
I've got it up here somewhere.
I got one right here.
Oh,
come on.
Here we go.
Don't insult me. Don't insult me.
This is amazing.
No, it's not.
But I love it. I think it's great. I mean, it sounds like Kiss when you're listening to the CD. Actually, they sounded really good. I know the guys. A couple of guys in this band were in the punk band Anti-Scene.
Okay.
That were in it.
That's
and they were so cool. They were clowns and they were playing clown songs. But you had Astro and Maestro and
it's on YouTube.
And the Peter Criss was named Crisco. and Bruce Kulick got up and played with him. Bruce was there. I think Ron Keel was there, and he got up and sang with them.
So I'm just gonna say this, and I'm gonna get all kinds of flack for it. I don't even care. But you went to those conventions in the early 2000s and the late 90s, and there was a band that was at every one of those conventions. Do you remember the band? It wasn't it was they played Kiss music, but they were like half Kiss, half original band. What was the band name?
They played there was one. Now I went to one. I went to one in Atlanta less than 10 years ago, and there was a band that was there, and they wear like makeup and stuff.
No, it wasn't that. It was just they were just like, I don't know. They looked like your accountant got up and was playing in a band. They were called SSG.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I don't remember them being there, but I've seen the CD. They put a CD
so
out
SSG. I never figured out what it stood for, and one night, I had a few, and I was like, SSG. What does that stand for? Suck guitars. Like, what does it stand for? And no one can tell me. So I'll catch flack with you. I'll get all the hate I want for that, but I never knew what it stood for. So somebody tell me.
Wow.
Anyway, Creatures of the Night.
Hey,
I'm
so,
listening to the Clown Alive 2 on YouTube right now. It's actually pretty good.
The funniest thing is when he gets ready to do the beginning part of Heaven's on Fire, and he's going, and he starts coughing. He goes, I never liked that song anyway. Then he plays something else.
That can't be a real crowd noise in that.
Oh no.
It can't be.
Yeah, that's probably from Kiss Alive too, actually,
or the Super Bowl.
That's funny shit. But one thing I remember about Creatures of the Night, ECW. I don't know if you guys are fans of wrestling, but back in the day, ECW wrestlers would use some of the songs, and one of my favorite wrestlers, Taz, he would come out to War Machine, and that's what really got me into War Machine because he fit that song too. When he came out to it, he looked like a badass, and that song was just badass itself. So that always brings back good memories about the.
There's more than one Kiss hater that I turn them on to War Machine. They're like, "Oh, finally a Kiss song I like."
Wow.
Those stubborn metalheads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just it's a heavy song. That's a metal song. You're gonna
totally. Yeah, absolutely, it is
metal album.
It really is. It really is. But that's like a really really heavy metal song.
Was this the first album that It's My Life was was demoed for?
I think so. Yeah.
No,
and I never understood why they wouldn't use that song. Yeah, I think that would have been a hit for them. I think it's a great song.
Because of the Elder. It was born during the pre-Elder session, so it was just an instrumental at that time. And I my personal thought is Paul didn't like it because Gene finished it, and it was associated in his mind with the Elder. So
Uh,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
sort of
supposedly
shame.
Paul
It's
didn't
sort of,
like Paul didn't like I Love It Loud, and Gene didn't like I Still Love You. So they had
I
to
think
play
Paul
both.
didn't like Gene bringing in a bunch of businessmen's kids to sing on "I Love It Loud." But you know what? Those guys don't need to like each other's songs. That's what we like about them. They both do different
Yeah.
shit, and they both do what they do very well. I mean, Paul can't do "I Love It Loud." Paul can't do War Machine. So, I mean, Gene forgets the lyrics to both of them as well. So there you are.
Hey, thank God that Paul put a nix to it because we would have never gotten Murder in High Heels.
Well, we've heard Paul's version of God of Thunder, so there you go.
Yeah.
There
Says
you
it
have
all.
That one. Bob
There you
hasn't
have it.
that one, right?
Yeah, Bob
So-
Ezra's like, this isn't working. Gene needs to sing this song.
You know, the one thing that years later I discovered, and it turns out it's not the only Kiss album, was Kiss used session musicians on here. As a kid, I really believed that was Ace Frehley. And then when I got older and I read that it was Vinnie Vincent, and then I found out that they had a Reuben Ford play guitar.
Robin Ford. Yeah.
Or is it Robin Ford?
The guy from
Robert-
Mr.
The
Is
guy
that
from
who that
Mr.
is?
Mister, Steve. What's Steve's last name?
Steve
Steve
Ferris,
Ferris.
Steve
Robert
Ferris.
Ford,
Mhm.
Adam Mitchell plays on it. You know, everyone plays on that freaking album. Vinny's only on a few of the songs, so you
He's
know
not on every song?
it's a mess. No, he's not on everything.
According
Hey,
to Michael James Jackson, Ace did play on.
He did not.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I know. He misremembered that in interviews with me and even in conversations with me. And there's just no evidence that Ace got anywhere near a studio. Ace was not in good shape at that time. So I don't think Ace would have known which end to hold the guitar if he had been in a studio.
By the
You know,
way,
I
I-
remember.
You know,
I remember a
this
friend
junction,
talking. Go ahead.
I was just gonna do an Ace Frehley impression. You know, at this juncture, I could play guitar. There's my Ace impression.
That's a good
Hey,
one. It sounds like.
you do sound like him. So Michael James Jackson, I've never heard of him. I think he did a great job producing the album, by the way.
It's amazing. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I forgot
Sure.
who was telling me this, that they had dinner with Gene Simmons. And they asked Gene, why doesn't Lick It Up have that drum sound Creature has? And Gene said, because Creatures didn't sell.
Exactly. That's why they
that
remixed
what-
that
is
first
that really
song
what-
as well.
Is that really why it sounds so different? It's the same producer.
Yeah, different drum kit, different studio, different miking.
Well, I was going to ask one of you guys, since I'm a huge Kiss fan. I have a lot of knowledge, but you guys seem to have a lot more. Michael James Jackson, who did he produce prior to Kiss? Because all I know is Kiss. What did
Jesse
he work
Colin
on?
Young.
Who did he work on?
Jesse Colin Young of the Youngbloods.
Really?
Yeah, he did some Red Rider.
He did Armored Saints first album.
Well,
Yeah.
he did
that's
he did
later
that in
on.
'85. That was
Yeah,
'85.
it's
but
later.
before here's the funny thing. He was working on a development deal with James House. So he was completely out of left field as far as metal was. He hadn't worked in any metal. He hadn't worked with hard rock. He'd, done who the hell was it? Shit, can't remember now. Some 70s soft rock band from San Francisco. So he got signed to A&M. So he was not doing metal, but he knew songs. And he knew
Okay.
material, and he knew sounds, and he knew session players because he was the one who was making calls to Steve Ferris. He was calling Robin Ford. He was calling Steve Hunter, though they didn't keep his work. So he was like perfect for in between Paul and Gene. Gene didn't want a producer. So you get a guy who's coming up, who's out of left field, who's maybe non-threatening, and you get him to mediate between the two guys.
And There's also session players for bass on there too. That's not Gene on every song, correct, guys?
Jimmy Haslip is in there as well. So you got two of the Yellow Jackets.
Wait a
You know,
minute, Jimmy Haslip, isn't he a jazz bassist?
who? Has? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
How
and he's
did he
been
get
in
on
Black.
the Kiss then? You know,
He's a
Didn't
session.
Eric-
He's a session player. You
And
know,
didn't
you-
Eric
Eric
Carr-
Carr, Eric
Yeah.
Carr played bass on "I Still Love You" or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, you did.
yeah.
oh wow. So Eric Carr was a better all-around musician than he was given credit for in his lifetime, it sounds like.
No, he could play guitar. He could play, not to, like Vinny's level, but he could play guitar. He could play drums. He could play some keys. Yeah, he was an all-rounder.
Yeah, I just was wondering about Michael James Jackson's background. I mean, I know there's this thing called the internet. I could have looked it up, but I just, I never, like everyone else, I was one of those nerds that hold an album. I would read all the credits on there, and I remember his name stood out because even as a kid, I recognized Bob Ezrin because of his work with Alice, Eddie Kramer because of Jimi Hendrix, Tom Morwen, who worked with everyone. So I would recognize certain names, but his I didn't recognize.
I could be wrong on this, but I believe it was Gene Simmons that told him to change his name to Michael James Jackson because his name
That's
is Michael.
bullshit. He was already credited on records in the 70s as Michael James Jackson. So that's just one of Gene's stories.
Oh, that's one of Gene's.
Oh, Gene telling stories.
So you're telling us Gene always doesn't tell the truth.
He exaggerates.
No,
So what's how did you guys discover the album? Were you guys longtime fans already? I was a new fan to Kiss, so this was a new album to me when it came out. What I do remember is I had written, back in in middle school, actually, you would write rock bands on your folder. And I put a shitty little Kiss logo, and I came back from where I was, probably smoking a cigarette with the other delinquents, and somebody put Kiss sucks on my folder. That's how low on the totem pole they were. And it really surprised me because, I thought Kiss was like the hippest thing because, I'm a nerdy 12-year-old. So how did you listen to that album as a new release yourself, sir, or
No,
did you buy it later on?
Well, Manny, we already talked about it before.
Oh, sorry about that. guys. We'll move on then. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
'cause I
rewind.
could go back and watch it. Yeah.
Another thing I want to say, the cringy stage raps Paul Stanley does. You know how later in the 80s he was constantly at the hospital? He constantly, what's wrong with Paul, man? Why is he always going to the hospital? Anyway, but on this
He had rock and roll pneumonia. Come on.
well, on this one, on the raps on Creature of the Night, he hasn't perfected the cringe yet. And he doesn't go to the hospital on this one. He actually goes to an airport and gets frisked by some chick. It's very cringy still. But then, the 501 Jeans thing. But yeah, listen to the beginning of the cringe on the Creatures of the Night box set.
I wonder how the raps would have been if Gene would have done them instead of Paul. Think they would have made more sense.
They would. No, I think they would have been even more cringy.
They'd be
Have you ever heard Gene rap?
Yeah, there's
I have never heard. I don't think I've ever heard it.
If you listen to the Cleveland 74, there's a soundboard recording. There's a part where Gene's like, "How many people we got here? 100?" And
Yeah, back then Gene was really strange, like that Mike Douglas show.
Oh, that's so cringeworthy.
It's he's trying to find who he is, but man,
Yeah.
74, that was a weird time for Gene. But I think if Gene did raps, it'd be cringy as fuck, even more cringy than Paul, because look at the interviews that Gene and Paul were doing at the time. Yes, both were given cringy interviews, but Gene, no matter what you talk about, he'll start talking about banging girls after the show, and it's all about get all the women and blah, blah, blah.
Well, what else is there?
More,
That's awesome. What are you talking about?
Paul did it too, but not as much. So I think Gene would have been much more cringe.
Just imagine if they'd let Ace talk, he would just kept cracking up. He would start talking about something and just bust out laughing, you know.
So I saw Ace here in Cleveland right after the No Regrets book came out. So the intro was Fractured Mirror, and Fractured Mirror ends, and the band didn't start immediately after Fractured Mirror. I think they wrote with Shout Out Loud or something at the time. And Ace gets on the mic. He goes, "Hey, I'm a fucking author. 1, 2, 3," and he just that was the intro. I was like, did he just say what I think? Well, but yeah, he was great that night.
Funny.
Wow.
I'll be right
Few and
back.
far between. Yeah, that's few and far between performance from Ace nowadays. That's for sure.
Yeah, well,
Sadly.
I for a long time would say Creatures was my favorite Kiss album. And it might have been more because that's the first one I bought as a new release. I remember when Lick It Up came out, and suddenly the very people who were writing Kiss Sucks on my folder suddenly thought they were great. I actually like Lick It Up quite a bit. Animalized I used to love, but when I listen to it now, I don't think it holds up that well. I think it sounds very little 280s for me.
It
But
hasn't
Creatures-
dated as well as Lick It Up. Lick It Up was more cohesive because
Oh,
Vinny was
yeah.
a part of the band. So he's
Lick It
on
Up-
what, 9 of the 10 songs as a co-writer. He's playing all the guitar except for Exciter. So you know, it's way more unified. They took the volume down a little bit on the drums and made it a little bit more commercial, and it did better. Hell, it went gold by December. It didn't go platinum until like 1990 or something, but it did much better than the last, I think, 3 albums that they'd had out. So I always liked it a little bit better, a little bit more melodic.
You can tell a drastic difference from Lick It Up to Animalize as far as songwriting goes.
Yeah,
I
no,
know
Vinny.
it's not a popular thing to say, but I'm one of those people that say Vinnie Vincent saved Kiss.
He's a great songwriter.
He's an
That's for
amazing
sure.
songwriter. And what he
Yeah.
did on Creatures and Lick It Up, Kiss has never matched that greatness since.
He's a guy
he-
that Kiss or someone needed to rein in a little bit. There's no denying that the guy had talent. There's no denying that the guy was a great guitar player. But I think too many outside influences on Vinny made him do wacky things. I mean, imagine if he had signed that contract with Kiss and he was controlled for a little bit, where they just said, "Hey, Vinny, here's what you're going to do today. You're going to write songs from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then we're going to record." Like, if someone reined him in a little bit, I could have seen his tenure in Kiss or any band lasting a little bit longer. I mean, just look at the guy's history since then.
Look, if Vinny was a team player, I
Yeah,
could see him last all the way up to the 96 reunion.
yeah,
see it.
probably.
If he was a team player, gave no shit, and just kept coming up with those fucking songs, they would have kept him. I mean, shit, they even brought him back for Revenge
Hmm.
for a couple of songs because they knew. Vinny sued them, lost, and they still took him back to write a couple of songs. Then Vinny sued them again. That's
Yeah,
when-
but they fired his ass in December '83, and we're looking for a replacement guitarist for the Lick It Up tour in the States, and they couldn't find someone that they liked. They couldn't find anyone that they liked all through the Creatures period when they were still auditioning people after the album was done and released. They were still trying to find someone. He was just all they could. He was a stopgap measure. But that contract, there's no way in hell any musician would sign that contract, because look at what it did to Eric Carr. It destroyed him. His contract was pretty much the same as Vinny's, but Vinny's was even worse because it was specifically geared towards taking his songwriting. So if Vinny had signed that contract, he wouldn't have lasted any longer because he would have been killing himself inside for signing over his babies. So he was never one for long. He was enough to right the ship, and they coasted after that. They coasted on Animalized. They certainly coasted on Asylum. All because of Vinny.
I saw Vinnie Vincent Invasion open up for Alice Cooper, and I was not impressed. At that time, I guess Mark Slaughter, I thought he was the singer on the, because I didn't buy the album until like 1990 something. the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. But it sounded like, Mark Slaughter stepped on his balls, shrieking. Every song was an extensive solo. I couldn't wait for them to get off stage, and I was a Vinnie Vincent fan, or I thought I was till I saw that. So, I was impressed personally.
I think that, in my opinion, I mean, I can't stand the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, the over the top guitar solos, Robert Fleischman. But man, buried in that, I hear a lot of good songs.
There he is. I was about to bring that up. I know, Ralph, I saw your review of Suck versus Suck with it. I know you don't like it. I love the record. I always like the over the topness about that record. It's just so out there, so crazy. But there are some well-written songs buried beneath all the craziness and hoopla that you get with it. I mean, Back on the Streets, such a great song, man.
No Substitute is amazing.
Animal could have been on Animalize. I think
Perfect.
four of those songs were demos that Shoot You Full of Love could have been a Kiss song easily.
Oh, could you imagine Paul's stage rap before Shot You Full of Love live?
Oh God, there'd be nurses and airline security people and cucumbers, all sorts
What
of shit.
airline is he flying on?
Yeah. I have to go back. I have both albums, one on vinyl and CD, the first one, and the other one on CD. I thought All Systems Go was terrible. I'm sorry. I still think
that one I didn't like at all. I even thought the songs were kind of poor on that. And one song on there, I think it's called Let Freedom Rock.
Even the title sucks.
Rick Fox sued Vinnie Vincent because he ripped off a song that Rick Fox wrote called On the Run from a band called Sin. And boy, do I recommend that song. That song is amazing. I love it. It's a band called Sin, On the Run. Man, that song.
They only did an EP. Yeah.
Yeah, and Vinnie Vincent robbed that song. Rick Fox sued him and won. Because he told and Let Freedom Rock is like a real shitty version of the Killer Sin song, in my opinion.
Well, I didn't Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum sue Vinnie Vincent, or Vinnie Vincent got dropped and they kept Slaughter, took over the.
What I understand is that the record label pretty much dumped Vinnie Vincent and signed and took, Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum and made Slaughter. I believe it's the same record company. I could be.
Yeah, it is.
Chrysalis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they pretty much dumped Vinnie Vincent. But Vinnie Vincent, man, I heard this story. I think it was Robert Fleischman when I interviewed him. He said the story that when Vinnie was recording for Enigma Records, Enigma threw all this money for Vinnie to be recording. So Vinnie's in the studio on Enigma Records money making this album. And while he's doing that, Vinnie's on the phone with other record labels trying to get a bigger deal. And then Enigma found out about this and all. Vinnie's a scumbag.
Listen, I bought that box set in 1996. I pre-ordered that box set at the Kiss convention in 1996. So he got an 11-year-old for $100.
Wait a second. You mean to tell me he didn't send you 2 box sets a couple years ago?
Yeah, where's your
No way.
I thought he was going to send 2 box sets to everybody that paid for one back in the day.
He blocked me on his Facebook, but I commented, I go, how do you even have the accounting purposes to know who purchased something?
Yeah, exactly.
Idiot.
Just ask Carmine about Vinnie. I mean, it's not like any of that was new history. People were warning Kiss about don't go with Vinnie, don't go with Vinnie. Vinnie, when he's on tour with Kiss in '84 for the San Francisco show, he shoots up to Sausalito to meet with Mike Varney for Shrapnel to try and get himself a solo deal. And that's early '84. So Vinnie's always been a different guy. He is something else. So Vinnie's Vinnie.
I heard he was responsible for the breakup of Joni and Chachi. I heard.
Yeah, I believe it.
But he wrote that song, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he was a writer on Joni Loves Chachi. He wrote that music. and he said he wrote a lot of it on the Cunningham's dinner table.
Well, it shot you full of love was probably inspired for his love for Joni or maybe Chachi. Either one.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Good old Chachi.
Yeah.
Report. I
Yeah.
would not want to be called Chachi, just so the record. But
Mm.
Hey, have you guys been paying attention to the chat?
A little bit
There's a chat.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people just been commenting about Kiss stuff, and there's been a few questions about just Kiss questions in general.
Would
Well,
you
it's
rather
one of the
see?
questions.
Would you rather see Vinnie Vincent or Corey Feldman live?
Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman.
Oh, look, there is a chat.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Which Corey's dead? Because that's the one I'd want to see.
Corey.
Anyway,
Corey.
Corey Haim.
Corey
Corey
Haim.
Haim.
Corey
He's
Haim.
dead.
Corey.
There's not too many really
Yeah.
questions in here.
No questions.
Not really. Somebody has a question. Doesn't Brian Adams have co-writing credit on War Machine? Yes, we discussed that already.
I like Deadeye has. I saw Paul Stanley on his 1990 club tour. After the show, Bob Kulick came out from backstage, and I asked him what kind of makeup he would have worn if Kiss had picked him instead of Ace, and he said, "The Merciless Ming."
Ming the Merciless.
He said, "The Merciless Ming."
Oh my
Yeah,
that's awesome, actually.
yeah.
Ming the bro. Oh my, that's pretty awesome. That's
Here was
Yeah.
one for you, Tony. Ask Tony Dio if he went to the Clash of Titans concert in
I saw it.
1991.
I answered it. Yeah, I answered
did.
him back. I said, "Yeah, I was there."
Mm.
He lives in Carolina. So yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
That's cool.
Anyone get the Kiss Army Spain book, Last Kiss at MSG?
I worked on the one before that. So when it was 77 to 2019, I worked on that book with Kiss Army Spain.
Oh,
Oh,
Those guys do some great freaking work.
work.
The Kiss
Great
Army
work.
Spain. You know, their Madison Square Garden book, freaking awesome. That's the
Yeah.
last one I got.
Did you guys go to the final Kiss show?
Julian and I did, yeah.
Idiot. Sorry.
Did you guys
Yeah.
get that gold thing on the way out?
I did.
No.
I did.
No, I didn't even know about it. I went back afterward. I went and did a live podcast immediately after the show and found out about it. And then a couple of days, or was it? I don't remember. Whenever it was, I was at the airport to fly home. I bitched and moaned about not getting one, and another guy who'd been at the show came up to me and gave me one at the airport. So that was really freaking
Wow.
cool. So there's some very cool Kiss fans out there. So
I agree.
I haven't looked at it since actually, but
It's
it
right
was- it
below
was
my
nice.
Paul Stanley broken guitar.
Yeah,
What,
it was nice, but they really screwed it up. So there you go.
What,
Good
what
ideas.
what did you think of the show, both of you guys, since you were there the final show?
For me, it was just like all the other shows I saw on the tour, and at the end was a stinking commercial. So I
Yeah.
wasn't a big fan of the avatars or how it ended. I'm glad I went because I got to see a lot of friends in
Yeah.
person and a lot of people who I won't see again, more than likely. So from that perspective, it was just a cookie cutter show. I mean, everything was a cookie cutter on that tour by the end. But the Avatar thing, the big reveal, wasn't cool.
So silly. Yeah, I'm going to echo what Julian said. The best times, because I did the last 4 shows. I took a whole week off of work and I went to all 4 of the last shows. I did Chicago, Baltimore, then the last 2 at Madison Square Garden. The best times for me was, seeing friends and being with friends and waiting in line at the pop-up store thinking you're going to get some cool Kiss merch. And then a couple weeks later, there it is on KOL. So the coolest part was just seeing people I'm probably never going to see ever again. So
I didn't
but
go
yeah.
to a single freaking pop-up store. I wasn't.
It was actually like I was within the first 20 people that got in to the pop-up store. So I got the jacket and the pennant, which I guess is hard to come by now, and then a shirt or 2. I had more fun like just mingling, talking to people in line than I did like in the actual store. So, but it was, that part was fun. And then I remember going to the Garden early, getting tour books and getting, event T-shirts and all that stuff. That was fun too, just hanging out with friends and hunting for Kiss stuff.
Yeah, we did the Garden tour, which was by Madison Square Garden, and I picked an early time slot to do that, so got to watch Stage Build and Load-In going on. So that was kind of neat for someone with no backstage or pass privilege to see them setting up that day, and kept walking away from the tour trying to, film and shit. So
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah. I've
Did-
actually
did
got to jump. I get up at 5:30 every morning.
Well, I'm getting on. Well, it was good meeting both of you guys. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
Listen,
man.
Listen,
Thanks
I'd love to
for
come back anytime. You talking with you guys was so fun. The highlight of I guess the last bunch of these things that I did. So it was so fun.
Right
Well,
on.
thank
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
definitely.
for joining us. Same with you, Julian. Hey, and plug your stuff, man, Julian. Plug your site and your videos and stuff.
Yeah, kissfaq.com. Come on over. I'm doing a lot of oral history type videos at the moment for the celebration of the 50th anniversary of so much shit going on in this year. We're celebrating Dress to Kill. We're celebrating Alive, and there's a whole bunch of other anniversaries coming up, and we're going to celebrate it all on the FAQ.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I heard today the Dress to Kill episode, and you played some live shit. Was that actually the first time they played? Was it Come On and Love Me?
Yeah, that's from the second show at Northampton.
Northampton.
The first warm up they did for the Beacon show. So that's the earliest currently known recording of "Come On and Love Me." So I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. Check out the latest episode and check out.
And you could find all my stuff at andrewscambati.com. All my Kiss videos, all my nonsense. I even made a Kiss Mentos commercial. So you can find all of that at andrewscambati.com.
Yeah, and what Andrew did to those Kiss shows is just phenomenal.
I appreciate that. I
We
really do.
them and
Yeah.
they just look amazing.
Yeah.
I
Appreciate
highly
that.
recommend it. Go to that website and check out
Yeah.
those videos.
andrewscambati.com. So thank you so much, guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Very
Right
cool.
on. Thank you,
Right, Andrew.
Julian,
Thank you.
Amy,
Thanks.
Tony, Julian, Manny.